Today is story time, and I would like to tell you my experience of having a motorcycle accident that happened May 1st, 2020. I will start off by saying this accident was my own fault and shows how quickly something can go wrong. One little wrong move or making a movement not in the right amount of time can make a difference. Anyone can criticize me in the video and tell me what I should have done, what I did wrong, and say harsh things about my riding ability. But I am here to tell you it happens in seconds. And if you are put in this situation, it is you that has to make the decision of what to do in a fraction of a second. You can say after the fact, oh, you should have done this or you should have done that. But in all reality, you have little time to decide, and honestly, you don't know what you would do until you are in that situation. Let's watch this clip of the accident from two different camera angles before I continue. I am not 100% sure what caused me to lose my path, but I know I was not wearing my glasses with the foam around the eyes, and I kept getting something in my eye. And I kept closing it, but no matter what caused it, it is on me. When I first noticed that I was coming in too far to the right, I leaned and I could not get out of the loose gravel. Yes, I was scared, and my only thought was to either wreck on the pavement if I kept trying to get out of it, or to straighten it up and go towards the grass. I made that decision in less than a second. By the time I made that decision and reacted, my exit line had changed, and that chevron sign was right in my path. I knew there was nothing I could do. I honestly, in that moment, thought I was going to die in the very short time. So I just held on to the bike and ducked down. I was thrown from the bike after it hit the chevron sign, and I hit the ditch about 30 to 40 feet away from the sign. And as I pushed myself up out of the ditch, I turned around and watched my bike do its final flip and spin and land on its side. I then laid up against the side of the ditch and kept watching for Mike, riding in the Ozarks, to come back. What seemed like 10 minutes was actually 2 minutes for him to realize I wasn't even behind him and for him to turn around and get back to me. I remember telling him I was okay as he was slowing down to park his motorcycle. He immediately got the windshield out of the road and turned the bike's ignition off to make sure there was no risk of fire or explosion and came over to me. He started checking on me for injuries and asking me questions. He kept getting on to me because I kept sitting up and wanting to get up and telling him I was fine. I then started crying, and I told him it was not because I was hurt, but because my poor bike was damaged and because I was mad at myself. I knew this was my mistake. I immediately told him, don't think this means I'm not ever going to ride again. I knew even just minutes after the accident, I did not want to give up riding, and I knew just like riding a horse, you have to get back in the saddle after falling off. He had to lie to me and tell me he had to call 911 and report the accident for insurance reasons. I wanted him to have someone come get my bike and for me and him to continue onto our ride. He told me I was crazy. While he was checking me out, my back hurt when I would take a breath, and then he noticed a wet spot on my pants. He then noticed blood and started pushing my pant leg up, and then I sat up because I realized my leg was numb. And I just looked down to see a big gash on my left shin that was deep. Mike made me lay back again, and he went to his bike for the first aid kit and bandaged me up. While all this went on, we did have a gentleman stop, and he ended up flagging and letting cars know we were there. And we also had another gentleman that was an officer off duty that asked me questions about what day it was and stuff like that. He was trying to confirm I did not have a traumatic brain injury. The paramedics arrived, and let me say, we were in the middle of nowhere between Salem and Stillville, Missouri, so it took them a while to get there. While they were checking me out, Mike got a hold of our friends John and Julie and John headed that way to sit with Mike, who was going to have to wait for a tow truck to haul the wrecked motorcycle. The paramedics checked me out and said I could have them take me to the nearest ER, or I could have someone else take me to the ER in my hometown. So Julie came and picked me up and took me to the ER in Rolla. Of course, Mike waited for a truck to come get my bike, and of course he couldn't go to the ER with me due to COVID, so he kept texting me and checking in on me while I was there. I did take my helmet with me and walked in and told them I had just wrecked my motorcycle. They immediately put me in a wheelchair and took me straight to a room and started undressing me. I have to say, the worst pain was the road rash on my arms when they cleaned them, and that is after a lot of pain medication. My jacket I had on, this jacket right here, didn't rip anywhere. The sleeves just pushed up almost to the shoulders. I had all sorts of x-rays done, and luckily I did not have anything major except 6 stitches in my shin and a very sore wrist, and that damn road rash. I got released and Mike was on standby to get me. We went and got my prescription, and he got us some food, and I went to his house. I do have to admit, I am very stubborn, and some of our friends were riding to the Lake of the Ozarks the next day, and I wanted to go. Mike finally had to tell me, let's just wait and see how you feel in the morning. So I would stop pestering him because I did not like it when he told me it was best if I just planned on staying home the next day and resting. So after all the pain meds wore off in the middle of the night, I could barely move, it hurt so bad. And I realized it was a good thing Mike told me we shouldn't go on that ride. When we went back to Mike's house, he had already watched some of the footage and asked me if I wanted to see it. And I said of course. He warned me it was pretty bad. After watching it and debating on it for a few days, Mike said he wasn't going to make a video on it due to the way people can be critical and downright mean in the comments. And I told him, no, I want you to put it out there. If it saves one life or prevents one accident, then it's worth it. I want people to see that in an instant things can change and you can find yourself in this kind of situation. We did have some comments that were upsetting, but we had a lot of other positive comments that made those comments just fade away. If you haven't seen the video on Riding in the Ozarks channel, I would recommend you watch it also. We made it with the intent to help prevent others from making a mistake. My mom says I had my Grandpa Weaver and my Uncle Tim watching over me that day, and I know I definitely had someone watching over me. That was scary, and in the video you can tell that I'm scared by the scream. Mike says before the accident, he had never heard me scream like a girl. Some say it put chills up their spine when they watched it. It was definitely a learning experience for me, and I am glad to be alive. I will admit, it has definitely made me more nervous in some situations, whether I'm riding my own or even when I'm riding bitch with Mike, and a little jumpy on things that never bothered me before. I am still slowly getting over those things, but I am much more aware of things like road conditions or traffic than I was before, which is a good thing. It took a lot of money, but exactly 1 month later, I rode my bike again after fixing it and replaced the damaged parts. The only thing I didn't get fixed was the dent in the tank, where the triple tree spun around and dented it. Before the accident, I struggled to come up with an original name for my purple bike that hadn't been overused. But after the wreck and all the bruises, I decided to name my bike Bruiser. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you think it could help someone else, feel free to share it. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more of my video in the future. See you later in the next one.